When it comes to Ricciardo, nothing can surprise us anymore. The Aussie has been linked to multiple teams after the announcement of the buyout agreement with McLaren, with Alpine being the loudest name in the paddock. Still, it seems like the 8-time race winner has decided to sit out the 2023 season and conquer a seat for 2024. If this is the case, the only option available for him for next season is to be a reserve driver in a top-performing team, such as Red Bull or Mercedes. Given the fact that Hamilton doesn't have plans to retire in the future, the only straw for Ricciardo would be the Red Bull seat. A little bit optimistic, but what are the chances we'll see the Honey Badger again in Red Bull in the future? Ricciardo's had 2 very depressing years at McLaren, and it seems like the toll they took on his reputation is much bigger than initially thought. This is why not many teams want to have him on their starting roster for the future, as the only available seat for him currently is at Haas. Still, Ricciardo spoke about the chance of driving for a backmarker team in the 2023 season, and it's very unlikely that he'll accept the helping hand of Günther Steiner. Now that Ricciardo has decided that he won't be part of Haas from 2023 and beyond, is it possible that we'll see him again in a Red Bull outfit? The chances are very high, and although Red Bull is the team to be asked about this scenario being realised anytime in the future, it's something that will definitely cross their minds. When they gave the chance to Gasly in 2019, we saw that he fumbled under the pressure of being Verstappen's teammate. That's something that Ricciardo did too, but he was able to drive at his level multiple times. If Red Bull decides to ditch Sergio Perez from 2025 and beyond, then rest assured that Ricciardo will be one of their options available. However, they'll have 2 younger, more prospective options that they will have to go through. For example, the AlphaTauri drivers are both young and have a very high chance of being considered as the starting drivers for Red Bull if the team decides to part ways with Perez. If the team decides to give De Vries a chance, who has yet to prove himself in AlphaTauri before being considered for a spot in Red Bull, the Austrian team will have an all-Dutch lineup, whereas Alpine has an all-French lineup. Ricciardo was asked prior to the Austin GP whether or not he had signed a contract with Red Bull. Now that rumours about Hamilton have started to emerge, it's likely that he'll continue the contract with Mercedes for at least 5 more years. I don't. For now, everything is just rumours. Am I talking? Yes, but there's no pen on paper or anything like that. I still have ambitions for 2024, so I won't completely disconnect from the sport, but obviously nothing's guaranteed for 2024. Like, I don't have a seat that I can say I'm definitely going to be driving, but I'll still be around and trying to put work in to be back, said Ricciardo. The fact that Ricciardo denied these allegations doesn't actually mean that he doesn't have a chance to drive for Red Bull in the near future. But what is the reality for Ricciardo at this point? He still has a chance to sign with Haas, and this is a team that has scored points on a couple of occasions this season. It seems like the American team will cut ties with Schumacher, especially after the outcome of the Austin GP, where his teammates managed to score points while he didn't. According to Gene Haas and Günther Steiner, the only thing that Mick has to do in the remainder of the calendar was score points, but Haas did say that Mick had cost the team way too much in the 2022 season. But Ricciardo did say that he doesn't want to drive in 2023 just for the sake of it, which brings us to the next question. Is there a chance we'll see him again in F1 in the near future? Sure, Daniel has the quality and is a proven race winner. He did it 8 times in his career, and although he did make some bad choices in his career, that doesn't mean he forgot how to drive a car. Furthermore, if Red Bull offers him this seat, it means that they'll have a driver who's already a proven winner in their car, providing maximum support for their F1 victory. This is a huge if, and Ricciardo may not have the luxury of taking a sabbatical, something that drivers like Alonso, Schumacher and Raikkonen did. If we're being honest, Magnussen also took a sabbatical, but the circumstances in which he managed to come back were very different. At the last moment, prior to the beginning of the season, Magnussen was called up due to the fact that he knew how to drive the car, and the team didn't have much time to think through the candidates. Still, F1 is a very anticipated sport, and we've seen what kind of efforts De Vries had to make in order to receive a spot. According to Jacques Villeneuve, Ricciardo doesn't have the luxury of taking a sabbatical because not many teams will have a free spot for the 2024 season. It seems like the only spots available will be in Haas and Williams, but 2024 is very far away and a lot can happen until that time. Steiner is very confused as to why Ricciardo doesn't want to drive for Haas, and when asked about this, the Italian said that this question needs to be addressed to the 8-time race winner, elaborating, "I think you need to ask Danny that one, not me, about why he doesn't want to race. I don't know if it's something against Haas, or he just decides to do something different for a year. I cannot guess what he wants to do. I have no idea what to answer you." If he's interested in us, he's not shy to call me up. I'm not going to chase him down. I want him to decide what he wants to do for himself first before being talked into something. I think he's a good driver, and I don't know how he got in the situation he's in now, but I think he needs to come clean with himself and decide what he's going to do. Well, let's say that Ricciardo plans on driving for Red Bull in the future. The first move would be to announce a deal with Red Bull as the reserve driver for the 2023 season. This is something that Ted Kravitz, who is a Sky Sports F1 reporter, believes that Ricciardo will reveal in the near future. I've got some good news for Daniel Ricciardo fans. He might not have a race drive for next year, but I do understand he's closed out a reserve drive next year. So he told us on Thursday he'll be around the F1 paddock next year. Kravitz was further asked about what the team is going to be, as he continued, "We thought Mercedes because they now have a vacancy given that Nick De Vries, their reserve driver, is going to AlphaTauri. I'm told it's not Mercedes, so that only leaves Red Bull, the only two teams who have a reserve driver on hand at every race. I thought for him he'd be better having a clean break and then coming back. Maybe it's just keeping your foot in the door somewhere, doing some simulated work, but trudging around a Formula 1 track not participating. You need a pretty tough mindset for that." Ricciardo does believe that he will be part of F1 in the near future, adding that we will see him around, continuing, "You'll see me around, it's going to look different for me, but there is still very much still a plan in place, so it's not that I'm checking out and saying see you later, it's far from that. I'm just putting in a plan to honestly try to get back to the front of the grid and win races and do all the stuff I know I can do." Verstappen's father, Jos, also spoke about Ricciardo, saying that his son Max learned the most from Ricciardo out of all the teammates he had in Red Bull. With this being said, there is a chance that Red Bull will consider Ricciardo as a valuable option for the future. So, what do you think will happen next to the Honey Badger? Do you think he has a legitimate chance of joining Red Bull in the future? Let us know in the comments below.